It really has been a long project. Bono has been looking for a way of playing in the round 360 outdoors for years.
Our idea was really to have the audience be on the stage there with you. We learned that in the mid-'80s, and we've been trying to figure a way to do it outdoor since.
16th of June, 9:05, doorbell rings, man at the door says, I want to stay alive a bit longer. There's a few things I need you to know. Free.
I remember back on Zoo TV, Bono saying that the thing about good ideas is they get better by themselves. And really, this idea, this is such a strong statement, and everybody understood immediately why we should be doing this.
It's very difficult to play in the round or 360 degrees outdoors because there's nothing to hang the stuff off.
Because so much of the structure is up high, when you're at pitch level, and it was the first thing Bono said, well, you look around and there's kind of nothing there because it's all up there.
Willie called me when they just built the stage in Barcelona, and they had most of it up. He said, if you stand at your microphone, you put your hand out, you feel you can touch the back of the stadium, which was, he said, I think it's going to work.
Odd way, the stadium becomes intimate because it's looking at this large object and everything else is smaller.
In general, the whole idea of U2 is to engage with our audience. We've always tried to do it, and in some ways the reason we haven't done stadiums for such a long time was that we hadn't quite figured out how to do it and how to really engage with the audience, and that's what's special about this show. It's in 360 and the audience are such a big part of what we do.
The PA is big and hanging up there, not as big as it became by the time Joe Hurley had finished with it.
You're on, 1, 2. Oh, Joe, can you hear me? Put up your hand.
Oh, there you go.
It's pretty cool, Joe. It's cool because you're so close. Based on that, we're expecting the sound to be 50% better than it's ever been before. No pressure, Joe, but I'm sure you're...
There's an age-old audio gag that says they don't go home humming the lights, do they? So I suppose they have to depend on the sound.
The quality of the sound was a kind of unexpected win that came about again because of the concept of the design of drawing everything into this central location, and because of that, the sound was all emanating from a single point.
The entire stage is ringed with bass and a full-range speaker system to accommodate the people that are in the immediate barricade area here. Now, when you go further out into the area where the rest of the 3,500 people, they are accommodated with audio directly down from the speaker that's coming out of here, so that there is a sensation of the sound actually emanating from the stage area itself. So people feel at one with the stage rather than a sound coming from various different locations. I'm not at liberty to put a wattage on it, but it's a lot.
The main structure is built in Belgium. There's a company called...
See a shape that you've looked at for a long time in various forms and realize that as a piece of engineering, it all has to fit into a truck.
Because of the membrane, because of the tensile skin that we wanted to put on it, it became necessary to build a physical model, because you're trying to understand how a membrane, when it's stretched two ways, will work. So I got the base model made and then spent a couple of weeks fiddling with this lycra material until I got to a shape which dealt with everything that I knew that we wanted to do. And the material that it's made from is this black on the back, pleasant shade of green on the other side. It's a very strong woven fabric that is then cut and welded to make this structure.
That kind of a performer, I think probably the rest of us would be happy to stand on an old beer crate, to be honest. But, you know, he's the person working the stage.
You know, most performers, for most of their lifetime, that you've been playing psychologically to your front of house, to your sound man and your lights man. And most performers, immediately, they just grab their audience in. But when you walk out here, they're there. There's 30,000 there, there's 30,000 there, there's 30,000 there, and there's 30,000 there. So the head trip and to get the 360 philosophy is a pretty tough thing. There's a bit of sleight of hand involved, because by moving all the gear up away from you and over you, you're just left with a little punk rock band there in the middle.
The idea that for the first time ever, we'd have to think about the stage as being a 360-degree area rather than a 180 was the right kind of throwdown for us.
You know, when you look at it compared to a normal stage, you think, oh, you know, it's a big physical thing. But in fact, what you do is you get great energy wherever you are, because, you know, the front of stage is, there's so many more people that have access to it.
They often quite like to face each other, just to become a band, because they can be so far apart. There are times when they need to come back together, and they'll face each other. And if that was in a regular situation, Bono would have his back to the audience. Whereas now, wherever they're facing, even if they're looking towards each other, there's still audience that's seeing them front.
Batman.
The screen came about through Frederick Opsommer, who's our LED specialist. He's been around since ZTV, and really has been the brains behind all of our LED adventures over the years.
The answer clearly was something that is small and minimal when it's just there, and then becomes big. Being small and minimal keeps the transparency of the structure with the four legs and so on. And then when you expand it, it becomes a monumental piece, a set piece in fact, that can do its own purpose. I got Chuck Hoberman involved to see where can we make something expandable.
Chuck's the man invented these, the expanding and contracting sphere. Frederick said to Willie, well, what you do is one of these, but you put LEDs all over it. And so bingo, suddenly the three of us knew what we were doing, and you know, we had the sketches, we had the whole thing within a few days.
Which was very exciting. At that point, it became very much a U2 idea. The easiest way of doing it would have been if it had been a perfectly round cylinder that expanded. But Mark insisted that, first of all, it should be saddle-shaped. It's elliptical and it's saddle-shaped, so when it opens, it becomes a cone. But of course, it makes the whole thing an absolute nightmare to conceive and build.
You still need video, and we wanted an extraordinary screen. You know, a conical screen is hard to figure, and I believe it was Frederick and his team in Belgium that called it the friet sack, or the chip basket.
But it all starts with this pixel. A number of these panes together form a bigger panel, and then 96 of these bigger panels form this entire structure.
Stadium and arena rock shows that has now been so commodified by all the other bands taking it over that every show you see is video.
Now the tradition is that you have your big art screen and then some side screens for what they call IMAG, which is image magnification. So basically you have the band on little side screens and then all the art's going on in the middle. Whereas what we've done effectively is reduced it to one screen. It's a very big and very clever screen, but it is one screen.
Before, with screens, we could make independent content that could be sort of used or not used. This is a lot more choreographed. There's concepts that come from the band, and these are all elements that then will be
Say, we are now integrating that more from a video point of view rather than from him.
This time it's a lovely personal message from Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
Because our voices were heard, millions more of our brothers and sisters are alive. Thanks to the miracle of AIDS drugs and malaria drugs.
A lot of the video content has been stripped back, but there are moments, big video moments.
I wasn't holding my breath that we would actually do it because there are a few fairly major hurdles to overcome. One of the most practical ones being whether this thing was tourable. And Jake Berry, our production manager, he went out and did a site visit to all of the major stadiums that we were likely to play to talk to them about how they felt about having 200-ton cranes on the field. And I was quite surprised that he came back with a clean bill of health. It all seemed like it was possible.
A little piece there is just going to have to be tighter. Everybody says, how do you feel about the first show? I'm more nervous about getting this thing to Milan, to tell you the truth, which is the second city. But, you know, look, we've all undertaken to do it. We've got to dig our heels in and go for it.
If you think about a rock show like 360 as the same scale as a gigantic action film, except you're moving location every few days. You're building a whole town, a whole city, and then you're knocking it down, putting it into trucks and moving it next day. It's quite something.
This has to be dismantled and transported to the next show. So a traveling 360-degree outdoor show, this is a world first.
Well, everything starts with the big carbon footprint. I think the goal here that we've all come to a conclusion of is how to reduce that. Live Nation Global Touring, as the producers of this tour, are fully committed to ensuring that this tour becomes a carbon neutral footprint tour. We have a lot of different ideas and plans in place, and we'll combine that with carbon credits that will eventually balance out the entire footprint over this entire 18-month world tour.
I mean, I think wherever you were, you got a great show, but quite a different show. That was another interesting aspect of this production.
I was at the mix desk for Snow Patrol a few times, and I was out a little bit higher up for Muse and for Black Eyed Peas. And it is a different experience, but again, there is an intimacy to the way that stage works.
People at the very back really saw this amazing show.
The seat at the back, because I've sat on it. I've sat in every seat pretty much. And
every single one?
nearly. And yeah, I've been busy sitting down while you've been up there playing. But honestly, while they're playing, I've gone, walked around, I'm testing it out. And it is even better right at the back.
Because of the way the sound system was developed, I think Joe did a really good job. The sound was immaculate for everyone that I heard. And I think we were getting great sound as well. And I think that's what you get in these bigger places.
From that very top tier, the sound was the best sound you'd probably ever get in a stadium, and the visual was incredible. It was probably, arguably, the best visual perspective of anywhere in the stadium.
There's some cameras which are on tracks that go around the stages, which Tate, the people who built the stage, designed a very ingenious little system around the B stage and the A stage. And then we have these televator cameras which allow the cameras to be up at head level or higher. There's so much kinetic movement, not only in 360, but vertically, the screen expanding and contracting, and we have to cover a lot of area and give them the best
processes where all of a sudden it's oops, and those oops can be significant in terms of costs.
From the unforgettable fire, this is wire.
In the mid-80s, a lot of bands would not sell seats behind the stage. U2 always did, and there was obviously an economic benefit to that for the audience as well as for the band, in that you had a bigger capacity, you could have a lower ticket price. This, in a way, is the logical extension of what we started doing then.
I would put it in the following perspective in terms of the cost for this production. There's never been anything this expensive.
If you ask yourself, how much time do you spend each day when you're not thinking about either the future or the past? You spend very little time in the present moment. And a live show is an opportunity to do just that. It's an unusual situation for people to be in, where everyone's looking at the same thing and we're all in the same place. There's an energy there which becomes much bigger than the sum of its parts.
You can't repeat yourself. You can't rely on new territory. And so, every time we go into the studio, it's the same thing we're looking for. And every time we sit down to start talking about a live production, we ask ourselves the same question, which is, what's never been done?
You want to see the person that you're going to see taking a little bit of a risk to give you something unique. And I think this whole production has captured the imagination of people.